And my mic muted. Welcome back to the Let It Rip podcast. I'm your host, S2E0. And as you may have noticed, I'm drunk. So, this isn't a meme one, this is a proper one. Although I could do with a shower. Probably. Anyway, I'll do that tomorrow. What we're going to do is we're going to go through and look at all the teams that have signed up for VL. How about that shit, eh? Behind the scenes footage of... Hang on. Of what's up to come. Message on my phone. Twitch. Not important. The only thing you should be watching on Twitch now is me. So, with a little bit of smooth operator. Window capture. No. Screen capture. Is that a thing? Window capture. Display capture. Okay. Not that one. There you go, boys. Smooth operator. It's not about how hard you try. It's about how hard you can go without dying. Right. How about these apples, boys? So, we're going to start with a Silver Gold League. Yeah? 6 teams have signed up. So let's go through them one at a time. Let's go through who they've got registered and what we expect. So what I'll do is, how about these apples? Ready for this shit? Duos. What? No. How about these apples, motherfuckers? Let's make a Google Sheets of all the teams, and we'll talk about them. So, first is Vigorous Beta. Vigorous Beta. Vigorous, everyone's gonna beat you. Vigorous, don't treat the woman nice, just beat her. That's what this... Yikers. That's what this team's about. So, with a swish of the hand and a fake of the wrist, let's write this shit down, but it's going to be with a little twist. Vigorous Peter's a top lane. So let's have a look. They've got Thrun as the team captain. What roles are you looking at? So they've got Thrun, Wavy Lad Jungle, Cali Mid, Weasel, and Llama. So let's write this team down. Thrun, Wavy, Cali, Weasel, and Llama. So let's just have a little look at that team, yeah? Now, what do we think? So we're going into Silver Gold. A lot of the Silver Gold sandbaggers from last split are now going to be playing in Gold Plat. As an example, the entirety of WSL, 7 Deadly Sins, is now playing in the Gold Plat League, despite playing in the Silver Gold League last split. You know, you can see a clear changeover. So if we look at this Vigorous Beta team, we can see some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses. So Wavy put in some solid performances throughout the entirety of last split. He did. For me, who thought he was shit, he proved me wrong. He did. And now he's going to be up there as one of the best junglers in Silver Gold. Alongside Bauer and Ice Arrow, maybe the top 3. We'll see where Delight comes in later on. Now, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, that's going to be the 5 that we look at for the rest of the split. So let's have a look. Wavy is strength. Cali, arguably one of the best silver mid lanes, maybe the best mid lane in silver gold. Very aggressive player, but has a large champion pool, and you'd expect him to be the main carry, the 50-50, the coin flip player that's going to turn their lead into the game win. That's what you'd expect from Cali, and it's how Wavy can look to support that. But with his history with Agrita, you'd expect him to play well around the mid lane, and you can see that being an advantage for Vigorous Beta. But let's look at the bot lane. It's Weasel and Llama. Now, Weasel we know played support for Peg, I think, alongside Bauer. I think it was Bauer and Weasel. Correct me if I'm wrong. For Peg in their unbeaten streak before they got, well, yikes. Be interested to see how they do. Llama then played support for Vigorous coming up. They beat Centurion, but eventually knocked out to 7 Deadly Sins, the eventual winners in the semi-finals. Didn't make it too far in the Hextech Cup though, as, well, we all know what happened against Team Elite. A little bit yikes. Had history with Pex. Maybe a little bit of drama happened there. How's his mental? We'll see. But the team, all in all, you can see a solid English lineup with a top jungle mid, which should build a natural banter, a synergy within the team, and probably keep it together. Weasel and Llama, we'll see how they look to interact, how the synergy, I don't know. But ultimately, if I was to rate this team in a League of Legends format, I'd give it an A. I think this is an A-class team. Thrun, I've still got some questions about Thrun. I think last time I've seen him top, he wasn't the greatest. For Team Elite, he wasn't the greatest either. But all in all, he's not a bad player. It's just about how we can improve him with the coaching staff of Rock and Power Fruit and all the rest of him. You'd expect them to be some level of growth of these players. But specifically, the players to watch out for are Wavy and Cali for me. And I'd expect them to be the reason why this team is at the top of the table come the end of it. Next, we have got this team. What's this team? Let's have a look. I think this is DV. This is Deja Vu. So let's write Deja Vu down. How about them apples? How about them apples, boys? Deja Vu. Now, this is, again, another silver gold team. No. There we go. We'll get there in the end, boys. Don't worry about it. Give me time. So let's have a look at what we're expecting this team to be. Well, Harshy is the support. We know that O2 Franklin, or whatever his name is AD carry. We know that Jonjo is a top laner. We know that Ice Arrow is a jungler. Now, the mid laner I'm not 100% on. Have you got him written down? Oh yeah, it is full. It is full. So let's talk about Deja Vu. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Jonjo. Because Jonjo, for me, was by far the best silver player for top lane last split. You know, Motor Joe has some good performances up in top. I don't know if Silverback was silver or gold. I think it was gold, but if he was silver, then he'd probably take the reins. But Jonjo overall is a very solid player. He's a good supportive cast member to a team. You know, he can play the flanking team fighters such as Kennen. He can play the kind of team fighting split pushers such as the Gnar. And we also know he's very good on the tanks such as Poppy. We know he's got, despite not a limited champion pool, but not a huge champion pool, but the champions he can play are very good. The issue with Jonjo, you can never imagine him to play a champion like Fiora and 1v9 a game. So he's a solid base, and as a silver spot, very, very useful. As a gold spot, arguably a waste, at least for me. If I was building a silver gold team, I wouldn't use one on Jonjo. But that doesn't mean he's a bad player, and it doesn't mean he could be or couldn't be the best top laner in this league. Next, we move on to the biggest sandbagger of them all, and that's Rich coming from me, I know, but everyone knows it to be true. It's Ice Arrow himself, who still might not have done his rank games, so who knows as we approach the last week, at least I think it's the last week, before sign-ups. Ice Arrow is going to be undoubtedly the best jungler in the league, provided he gets to play. We know he's got a decent playstyle and map awareness and macro awareness, and the thing that Ice Arrow offers the team is that he's got a plan before the game starts. Now, sometimes these plans are not the most thought out. Maybe it's something very simple that he decides to stick to, but as long as he's got that plan, it allows the team to build around him, and that level of coordination is what's going to make this team relatively successful. Ice Arrow, for me, will automatically make this team one of the best. Next, we move on to Fool, and Fool has got a lot of question marks about him, don't get me wrong, but you can imagine him when truly put up to the plate can be the carry player to make up for John Joe's lack of the carry in those solo lanes. With the help of Ice Arrow, who we know likes to camp mid lane a little bit, he could potentially be one of the top contenders for silver. Is he better than Kali? Not in my opinion, but he can definitely put up a good showing. In the bot lane, we've got Franklin and Harsha. Now, Franklin is without a doubt one of the best AD carries in the league, perhaps the best. But is he a good laner? Well, that's something that I'd say not necessarily. I think he's a solid laner, but I don't think he's going to be that DD potential in terms of punishing people in lane when he's got the advantage. I think he's going to be very much forced onto a certain champion pool after laning with Harshy, as Harshy ultimately isn't going to be the best player. I've laned with Harshy for a while in CNT last split. I think he very much does the job and you can trust him. However, I don't think he's going to be a valued member to any silver gold team, unfortunately, and in the end he might be put on Braum duty. But we'll see. Franklin for me might be very restricted by this and not show his true potential, but I think ultimately if this guy really had the chance to perform, he could be one of the best. But ultimately when looking at this team, I see a lot of strong points, a lot of weak points, but Ice Arrow for me is going to make this an S- team. I think they should definitely, with the help of Arbush, create a solid base and build on it. It's whether Ice chooses to perform, because without Ice, this team ain't any higher than a B. But let's move on to the next one, and it's Hentai Haven. Hentai Haven with a lot of changes recently. Most notably is the departure of the long-standing AD carry, Dan. Now, we're not going to go into too much detail in regarding to this, but what I can say is that a falling out between the bot lane of Rani and Dan could perhaps make this team no longer exist. But what we do know is with the top laner Salty, with the jungler Delight, long-standing member in the community, and the mid laner, shit, I hope they've written it down, I forgot his name. Hang on. With the mid laner, Somtha, that's it. Mid laner Somtha, you can see a potential there. The issue is how does that team choose to operate? Not a lot of practice going on, as I know as the ex-coach. One of the reasons for me leaving. Dan was the best player on that team, without a shadow of a doubt. With Dan gone, I don't see a carry, and it's how they choose to operate. Maybe they choose to bring in Nightmare Thor, who is a registered sub. Cradden's also there too. But how do they choose to fill that role? I'm not sure. At the moment, for me, unfortunately, I don't see this team as being anywhere near the top. And so far, I'm going to give it a C. But that's only because there's 4 out of 5 members. There's still a lot of chance for this team to improve. But as it stands, I don't give them much of a chance. But let's move on to the rest. The next is Picklesman's team. Don't know what the fuck it's called. SCS, Sons of Capri Sun. This team, I don't know too much about, so let's go through it. We can see Picklesman. We can see McGough, Destiny's Power, Revelio, and the Viking Wins. Now, unfortunately for me, this team is a big motherfucking question mark. Which means for me, they've got the most chance of having a Smurf and the most chance of coming last. Who knows? But for me, that team's going to be one to look out for. We'll see. Next is Windhowl. Interesting. Another team I don't know too much about. Mythics, Macman, Muscleman, Dark Chance, and I'm Sup, by the way. Now, Dark Chance, who I think will be playing jungle, and I'm Sup, by the way, who's either going to be top or support. You can see where this team's at. And for me, even ignoring the potential of the other 3, this doesn't look like a strong team. I'm going to give it a C. Now, there's a lot of chance to prove me wrong with the 3 unknown players, at least for me. But the 2 that they've got, I understand their strengths, but I understand their weaknesses a lot more, and that's because they're a lot more apparent. And for me, they're not going to be up there at all, especially compared to what Vigrorous and Deja Vu are offering. The last team is WSL. Wards save lives. Or Ward saves lives. I don't know. I don't really care either. When looking at this team, they've got Bauer, who I can only assume is in the jungle. Festive, Pixar, Slacking, who I can only assume is top lane. And still looking for other. Which means ultimately, this team's another unknown. With the background staff that WSL have with the main team, as such that Deja Vu and Vigrorous have, the owners of Luxor, who was able to win the split in the Silver Gold League last time. With me kind of having a little bit of training with Bauer on our focus team, and with Slacking, who's a very solid top player, all in all, I think this team can go places. However, at the moment, there's too many variables and there's too many unknowns, which means for me, you can't give this team any higher than a B. Which means my predictions, providing that the teams remain how they are, taking into consideration the variables, I'm going to say Deja Vu is going to finish top of the split, with Vigrorous, Beta and Warsave's lives being a clear second and third. It's all up in the air between Windhowl and Hentai Haven, depending on the unknown players that they could potentially have and how they look to proceed. Capri Sun, I don't know any of them, which means for me, I doubt they're going to make it till the end of the split. Hopefully, though, this team can get a little bit more than 6 fucking teams. We'll see how shit goes. I really can't say that, but that's alright. So that means we go on to the real fucking league now, boys. To the real fucking league. Gold Platinum. PMA. Elo Thieves. Deja Vu Tang Clan. Igni Killed Endeavor. War Saves Lives. OP Nerds. Vivid Visions. Claytron's Team Vigrorous. Bob. Everyone's favourite. And Orthic Gaming Academy. Weird. So let's go through them one at a time. We're going to start off with PMA. Would help if I typed it in the right location. PMA. Now, a big thing here is I've got a little bit of insight in regards to this league because I'm trying out for a couple of teams. Now, PMA have got the top laner of Spunners. However, for me, we know that he's not going to be there all the time. The solids are obviously Lordio, a fella called Dave, Last, and Gandhi. Now, I don't want to talk too much about this team, but I'm just going to give it an overall rating. I think everyone knows where the solid parts of this team is, and you can see it very much being an AD carry-centric team. Dave, a little bit of an unknown to most people, but PMA themselves will say he's going to be one of the best, if not the best mid laner in the league. Endeavour might say something different. Lordio, role swapping again, AD carry to mid, now mid to jungle. We'll see how it looks to perform, but with a very carry-centric playstyle, could choose to either bite him in the arsehole or look to carry this team to the top. For me, PMA so far is a B+. This team would be a B, but with Looney at the helm, you can see some quality coaching sessions which would take this team to the top. But so far, from what I've seen, there's a lot of room for improvement. Who's next? Well, it's Elo Thieves. This team has an undoubtable strength, and his name's Dewey. In the jungle, once again, no longer in Peg, but now in this team, you can see, really, this guy was undefeated, and there's a reason behind it. We saw Bauer playing AD carry, Weasel support, Rock mid, and Power Fruit top, and we saw how these players did when they left Peg. Not too great. Centurion, VGR, and Hunter Cobra. None of them really did too well. but when together with Dewey, they're a very, very strong outfit. Merst, actually, from VGR, ex-CNA member, always performed well and always put up a solid showing as the top laner for this team. And some people don't rate him, but I do, and I think he could be a massive beneficiary for this team and really the second carry to this one. In the mid lane, I can't remember which person's where. There's Sean, Charmander, and Valk. Well, Valk's actually no longer there, which is a little bit of an unknown. I think Sean is the AD carry and Charmander's the mid. For me, I think the biggest weakness of Velo Thieves was the bot lane. I think individually they weren't fantastic, and together they didn't have the synergy that maybe the Xayah to his Rakan or Rakan to his Xayah would have suggested. And I could see a very top-centric team. With Valkyrie no longer being in the fray, there's a chance for a real good support to bolster this lineup, but it's going to be needed. For me, there's an obvious strength, and just like with Ice Arrow in the Silver Gold League, a jungler can really make the difference. However, I don't think it's going to be enough. Compared to PMA, I still think they're strong. Are they strong enough? I don't know. For me, it's an A minus. But with one variable left to go, that can fluctuate. But let's move on to the next team. And that team is DVT. Now, the Deja Vu Tang clan was a little bit of a meme team dream, meme team stream, meme stream dream, meme dream, dream meme, dream team stream team. You know what I mean. A lineup of Kui, Arbush, Kiz, Korean Sophia, and Big Mofo Sexy. At first glance, you see a lot of personality, you see a lot of material for joking around, but are they as bad as you think? Both Big Sexy and Kui both recently climbing in solo queue, Kui actually reaching plat, his actual rank for the split, and Big Sexy climbing from G3 to G2. He's on the rise as well. So is this team actually that bad when you consider how good Arbush is, and especially considering his history in both Rivals and CL? Well, no, I don't believe it is. I think it's actually a relatively strong team, but Korean Sophia in this team has a little bit of a question mark to how they look to proceed. Killex, or Remix, is the coach, but do they actually draft correctly? Is that going to be a weakness for the team? Ultimately, I think this team has some very strong players, and I think against an average team with lesser players, they're going to win the majority of the game in a very solo queue style of way. But I don't think they're going to have the preparation, I don't think they're going to have the teamwork, and I don't think they're going to have that level of seriousness that's going to take them above the rest. I think they're a solid team, but I don't think they're up there. And that's the difference between a B and a B+. I think they've got better players than PMA, but I just don't think they've got the teamwork. Well, do they even have better players? Who knows, we'll find out. But Deja Vu Tang Clan, that's a B for me. We move on to Igni Killed Endeavour. I'm just going to call them Ike. In the top lane, they've got Dopa. In the jungle, they've got Impress. In the mid lane, they've got Endeavour, should he choose to play ranked games. Their mid lane, their AD carry, a little bit of a question mark. Their support, well, that's Oscar. This team for me, again, is another team I've got a little bit of an insight to. I think overall they've got very good players in each role, and I think as long as they can understand their role within the team, this team can go far. There's an obvious weakness in certain areas, but I think these players actually are still quite underrated. It's then how do they look to proceed. I think as a solo queue team, they'd climb very quickly, but in fives, we see a weakness. The AD carry is a big thing that could make a difference, and I think there's two people on their radar, one of them being me. But will they look to make that extra step? I'm not sure. When compared to the rest of the teams, I still think they're better. It's just ironing out those weaknesses and identifying where they can improve as a team. Are they S tier? Not by a long shot. But are they better than Elo Thieves? I'd say they are, and that's why I'm going to give them an A ranking at the moment. But there's a lot of ways this team can get worse, but a lot of ways this team can get better. Endeavour, this motherfucker's got to play ranked games, or that team's going to disband. Let's look at the next one. The next one, the third team that I'm trying out for, that's Ward Saves Lives. But the GP edition. Now, whereas the Silver Gold team is a little bit of an unknown, and we don't know what's going to happen alongside Slacken and Bauer, this team, well, it's the most consistent team and the most well-known team, synergistically, that there is in all 2 of the leagues within VL, as they're retaining 4 out of 5 players, with Wakata Chewy still being up in the air. We know Silverback, we know Wisetown, if I can spell Wise, we know Minky, and we know Branch. Now, both Wisetown and Minky both coming from relatively unknown teams to WSL to create a solid lineup to end up winning the split. Branch coming from CNT, one of the more favoured supports in the league, was voted the second best behind Rock, who in the end didn't even play support. Made this team a very, very strong lineup, but who's their mid laner? It's still yet to be decided. Minky? Well, he might not even be there too, based off what I've seen. How does that team look to proceed? I'm not sure, but with the pre-built synergy, maybe having to go back to basics, this team's got a lot of potential. But are they there yet? Are they there yet? They're a lot more well-rounded than the majority of teams. They're like a PMA, but they're further up. But do they have the coaching? That's still something yet to be decided. Against the Elo Thieves, do they have the star quality? I don't think they do, but they're a lot more well-rounded. Are they an A-? Are they a B+? It's really hard to decide, but for now, they're up there. But I don't think they're quite there. And that's why I'm going to give them a B+. So we'll move on to the next team. And that is OP Nerds. But looking at the team, well, I don't know them too well. We're seeing a lot of players that I just don't know. Monzi, Big Boy Dan, Gemma Grievous, I think I know a little bit about. Dormin, Nawa. I mean, these are players that played last split, but me personally, I don't know too much about them. And for me, OPN are a big question mark. If I can fucking press enter and question mark, oh my days. I'm not sure where this team's going to be, but things that I've heard is they could be quite good, and I think if they were to stay together, they could potentially be at the top half of the split. Certain people I've spoke to have even said that they could be challenging for that number 1 spot. For this is Silver Gold players we're talking about, and OPM were nothing last split. Jesus. 5 teams left, I think. Yeah, 5 teams left. Next is Vivid Visions, coached and owned by Luke. This time he actually wants to try and get a team together. Coco, British Blaze, Ilk, Coco is bad, and Luke himself, as well as Flyer, are going to be playing in this league. Now I can only assume that Flyer and Luke are going to be the bot lane for this team. The rest, well, that's very much an unknown for me, as me not knowing too much about the players. Flyer I rate very highly, but I think he's quite linear in the playstyle that he can play off. Luke, who's undoubtedly going to be a good AD carry in this league, compared to Last and Ambitious Ram, I'm not actually too sure where he lines up. Last is arguably the best AD carry in the league. Ram put in some very good performances, and if I get the role, I think I can, well, chase both of them really, and give them a good run for their money. But where does Luke stack up? I think he's a very selfish player in terms of not a KDA player, but he's not going to die. But I don't know if he's going to push his advantage as much as he potentially could if he chose to make that leap. Ultimately, a lot of unknowns, but a solid bot lane. And for me, that is just going to give them a solid B. I think they could be up there, but I'd no more so than Deja Vutan Clan. And you can see that there's still those 4 teams that you think are up there and truly contesting. Who's next? What is Claytrons? giga inconsistent with what I'm calling these names, by the way, but fuck it, we'll crack on. So what's this team all about? Shenzhen in the jungle. Jacob Beeg Okren, well, I don't know where he plays. Key could be top or mid, not sure. Ultimately, it's a very unknown team. What I can say is I have had the luxury of scrimming against this team, and I think they're very coin flip. I don't see many potentials for them truly winning games if the enemy team is playing properly. And for me, unfortunately, I'm going to rate them as the worst team so far. But a lot of unknowns. They could potentially be a lot better. Really interesting one next in VGR. Vigrorous. My boy Simon in the mid lane. With Ram and C in the bot lane. They've got Cloud in the jungle. And who's the top? Rialgo. The old school 7DS coach back from the CL days. Should you choose to remember? My prediction for this is you're seeing a very solid lineup, actually. On paper, you're seeing a lot of strength. Rialgo and Cloud don't know too much about them, but I'm predicting them to be in the top echelon of their role. Simon, fantastic mechanical top laner, but was never really able to influence the game enough as a top laner for CNT as a mid lane. He's closer around the map. Will his champion pool shift across? That's going to be the question. But ultimately, with Ram and C, two of the best bot laners in the split, best in the league last split, I'm seeing this team being a very, very good potential team. And for that reason, I'm going to give them an A-. It's exactly the credit that I gave World Saves Lives for, but I think they're just a little bit more potential on paper. Less unknowns, but we'll see how they look to go on. In terms of prediction, probably the same level as Elo Thieves, but not yet quite on the Ike level. Bob and OCG for me are very much unknowns. As you can imagine, I don't know who the fuck they are. Which unfortunately means we're getting more question mark teams. But if we spread this shit out, if we zoom out, fucking streaming at its finest, by the way. Why didn't I just go to sleep? We're getting a little bit of a look at of what I'm expecting. Ike may be first, with Elo Thieves and VGR just behind. We're seeing World Saves Lives and PMA, though, being decent competition. OPN, I think they'll be up there somewhere. Deja Vu Clan and Vivid Visions, you'd expect them to be just trailing behind, but unlimited potential. And then Bob OCG and Claytrons, well, who knows where they'll end up? Really unknowns for me. Claytrons, I don't see a lot of potential just yet, but who knows? Anyway, that's my predictions going into the next split. In terms of where I see both teams going, a lot of unknowns and a lot of potential transfers. It's nice to see that Slacken and Bauer and Flyer have found potential teams. I'm expecting that Nightmare Thor is going to pick up this role at Hentai Haven, which I don't think will push it up too much higher given the other teams, specifically Deja Vu and Vigorous Beta. In terms of Sheet 2, I genuinely think whatever team I join is going to be the best team. Fuck yous all. After playing with like WSL and PMA, I think they've all got potential. I also think they're already better than the rest of the teams. Elo Thieves and VGR having this little bit of potential. But if I was to join PMA or WSL, I think I am that missing piece on the communication side that they need. For Ike, it's just being that solid player who gives it that element of consistency. Who knows? Catch you next time anyway on the Let It Rip podcast, where I chat shit for 35 minutes live, record it, but never upload it. You wanted content admins? Well, this fucking counts. Adios, bitches.